Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Kevin Captain, Interim Director of Community Information for Volusia County Government, and your host today for our 8th panel discussion focusing on our community's COVID-19 response. Despite the fact that we're all still in the middle of a pandemic, there are a lot of really positive developments. The rate of new cases in Florida and right here in Volusia County remains relatively low. While more and more testing facilities are ramping up, the good news is that the percentage of people testing positive also is very low. Throughout the state, more than 1 million people have been tested, with a relatively low 5.4% of them testing positive. And in Volusia County, the positive test rate is even lower, just 3.3%. Meanwhile, the state and county are reopening for business. Most government facilities have reopened as well, and we are squarely in the recovery phase. Still, with all the positive indicators, that's only part of the story. We know that our residents and businesses and our nonprofits need help. Helping finding their financial footing, helping paying their rent or mortgage, and even help putting food on the table. Fortunately, there is help out there. Today, we're going to be talking about the grants and assistance programs that are available, where and how to apply, what you need to do to complete an application, and what you can expect from the review and approval process and how long that might take. So coming live from the Emergency Operations Center in Daytona Beach, today's panelists are Brad Harris, Business Manager for Volusia County Economic Development Division, Carmen Hall, Director of Community Assistance for Volusia County Government, Bob Watson, the Director of Volusia County Veteran Services, and Jean Rademacher, the Director of Community Programs for the United Way of Volusia Flagler Counties. Thank you guys so much for being here this morning, and more importantly, thank you for what you're all doing for our community to help it recover and get back on its feet. So for Facebook, we know that you might have some questions for our panel, so feel free to type in those questions, and as we get toward the end of the discussion, we'll entertain those questions. And with that, let's go ahead and let's get started. So Brad, we know that the COVID-19 pandemic has caused a temporary closure of many businesses. And while we're in the stages of reopening, many businesses may require new safety panels, plexiglass, all sorts of new safety measures. And I understand the county has a grant program that's available for small businesses that might be able to help with that. Let's talk about what kind of services are available right now.
Yes, right now we have a small business reopening grant. It's for businesses up to 50 people, that hire 50 people. It's for businesses that have a brick and mortar location here in Volusia County. It doesn't include not-for-profit or home-based businesses. It's a brick and mortar business. But it's $3,000 if there's 25 employees or less. It could be up to $5,000 for companies that employ 50 or less, or between 50 and 26. So we've got that grant program available, and we've had that open since the 14th of May. We have received thousands of applications at this point.
Great.
We're in the process, and have been, of getting those approved. Checks have already begun to flow, and so we're just thrilled to be able to help our businesses in a small way with the needs they have right now because of COVID-19.
So brick and mortar businesses, employees up to 25, $3,000 is a grant, and then employees 26 to 50, $5,000.
Correct.
So that's really going to be helpful for a lot of businesses in our county.
Yeah, and as we've discussed the applications with our businesses, they've been so appreciative, very cooperative through this process, and very patient with us because the application process takes a great deal of work. But the businesses have needs. We're thrilled to be able to bring CARES dollars through Volusia County to be able to help them right now.
That's wonderful. Excellent. So Carmen, I understand also that we've talked about the effect that businesses are being forced. Some of them had to close. It's also had a major impact on individuals who depend on that paycheck from their employer. And we know the state handles the reemployment or unemployment benefits, but the county does have some initiatives in place right now to be able to help those individuals who are struggling financially.
Right. No, definitely. There are a lot of households out there that are struggling due to a loss of income from their employment or a loss of employment. And so in an effort to assist those households, we have a COVID-19 rental assistance program and a mortgage assistance program. And so those programs are designed to provide up to 3 months of assistance to households that have experienced a loss of income and that reside in Volusia County. And the assistance can be up to $1,500 per month. And the individuals, there is an application process, of course, but it is pretty minimal at this point. It did start off being a little bit more comprehensive. However, we've switched our funding source to the CARES funds, and so it's a little bit easier, more streamlined at this point. And so at this point, we've received over 1,600 applications for both of the programs combined, and we've been able to start providing assistance to over 250 households at this point.
That's great. So up to $1,500 per month.
Yes.
And it can be for a 3-month period.
Correct.
So that's really going to help a lot of people and families that are struggling financially.
Yes, and another thing to point out is that 3 months of assistance, it can be for rent or mortgage assistance that is past due or currently due, or if you continue to be eligible, it could be for future payments. So there's a wide range of assistance depending on your household's specific needs.
Well, that's great. So if a homeowner is late on their rent or their mortgage and it's past due, what kind of paperwork do they have to go through to submit this application? What's the process look like?
Okay, so they can apply online, or they can mail an application in, or they can drop it off at our office now that we're open. And so the application process, it's a couple pages long, the application itself. They would need to have proof that they reside in Volusia County
Okay.
by either a mortgage statement or a lease agreement. That documentation would need to have been current as of March 13th. And then, other than that, they have the last month of income for the household would need to be submitted. And that could be a copy of pay stubs. It might be a Social Security award letter. Just depends on that household. And then the head of household and the co-head, if it's applicable, would need to submit a copy of their state-issued ID, such as a driver's license,
Okay.
and their Social Security card.
Okay.
So-
So if they decide to do the online application, is it safe? That sounds like there might be some private information on some of those documents.
Right. We have created a secure portal to upload that information. So it's not
good.
being submitted over email. So
Okay.
it's an actual portal. So it is secure. But if somebody doesn't feel comfortable with that, they're more than welcome to drop off their application to our office, or they can mail the application in.
Excellent. And I was looking just at volusia.org, right when you get to the page, you can see that little box, the little slider, and it shows on there rental and mortgage assistance. You click on that, takes you right to the application process.
Exactly.
That's wonderful. Excellent. Well, Jean, thanks so much for being here this morning. Another subset of the community that might be struggling right now is the nonprofit agencies. And we know how important the nonprofits are to our community, definitely. They're not the same as traditional small businesses per se, but they still have been impacted by the pandemic, and they might be in need of assistance. So what's available to the nonprofits, which I understand is new?
It's fairly new. It just went live on Tuesday, and it's very similar to the small business loan. Basically, if you're a nonprofit, you have a brick and mortar in Volusia County, and if you have up to 25 people, you get the $3,000, and anything over that, you can get the $5,000. It's a very short application comparatively speaking to a grant. It takes about 10, 15 minutes. There are 3 documents that you need to upload: your 501(c), proof of your Florida SunBiz registration, and another one if you have it. And it's through a secure portal, just like the counties. And as of this morning, we had 62. But I got a lot of phone calls yesterday, so we're going to have a lot more.
What are some nonprofit examples who are applying for this grant?
Easter Seals, Early Learning
Okay.
Coalition, the Peabody Auditorium, Ponce Inlet Lighthouse, some of the churches. There are some agencies that didn't have the brick and mortar, so they're not going to be able to get the grant that way. But it runs the gamut.
That's wonderful. And that's, again, these programs are all from the benefit and the support from the Volusia County Council. And I know, too, that they're also discussing, perhaps a future benefit for the non-brick and mortar. So with the new nonprofit program, which just started Tuesday from their vote, more and more benefits and assistance is coming. So that's wonderful.
We also have United Way has the COVID-19 fund. Well, we've been able to help the agencies that are doing food pantries and delivering food. We've given out about $150,000 on that right now. Wow. And if people need help, call 211 or go to 211live.org. That has all the
211live.org.
Or pick up your phone and call 211. We have an ongoing, I update it almost hourly, a resource list of agencies that are doing things or organizations that they don't normally do, so they wouldn't be in our regular database. But there's a spreadsheet there for food, housing assistance, childcare, activities to do. We've got the the small business loan there. Anything you can think of. We just got something in from the Lions Club that they're willing to supply face masks for people of the hard of hearing and deaf community. So there's a lot of different things on the list.
That's great. And if there's anything to emphasize there that I heard is it's a 15-minute, maybe 20-minute process, right? That's pretty quick to fill it out.
For the nonprofit, it is very quick.
That's wonderful. Excellent. Well, thanks, Gene. So, Bob, thanks for being on the panel with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Our veterans mean everything to us, and Veteran Services assists both former and present members of our armed forces and their dependents year-round. But I imagine with the COVID-19 pandemic, it's had an impact on the way that you've operated. I understand you had appointments for a little while, and now you've reopened back up. So how has Veteran Services adjusted to ensure that our veterans here in Volusia County are receiving the benefits that they rightfully deserve?
Well, initially in phase one, we were able to only do telephone appointments. Now that we're in phase two, we've opened the doors up. We can do face-to-face appointments. We're still continuing to do telephone appointments for those people that aren't comfortable in getting out. We'll still take care of them. But everything is still by appointment right now. The VA is starting to open up. Initially, they shut down everything except emergent care. Now, with the VA, they're opening up. They're appointment only, both in the clinic in Daytona and Eltona. Laytonona, which is the closest hospital to us, VA, same thing. They're doing appointments only. But I just got an email in yesterday, and they're going to start opening up locations. They're opening up 20 of the locations to complete care starting Monday, the 8th. And then each week they'll be opening more and more of the facilities.
Well, that's great. So we're definitely seeing the sort of the phase two opening of that and more services being rendered available. That's great. That's great,
Absolutely.
Bob. So now that we're aware of what grant assistance is out there, let's talk a little bit more about the process and what people can expect. So Brad, with the small businesses, you said that you've already processed hundreds of checks already. So I would imagine you're already seeing the application process and for any that you might process where you're experiencing, say, delays or missing information, what information could you give that future applicant or advice to make sure that they don't miss anything on their application and to make sure it goes, as soon as they fill it out and they click submit, it's already being processed?
Yeah, let me go back to the process because I didn't really speak to that. But you start at VolusiaBusinessResources.com.
VolusiaBusinessResources.com.
That's the entry point for the application process. When you go to that site, it'll direct you to a place where you can find all the information on this grant program, not the least of which is what you need to be prepared for when you start the application process. Just looking at some of the statistics, we probably have twice as many entrants into the application process as we do completed applications. So you can see evidence of where people have started in, they found they didn't have something, had to come back out.
Okay.
So there is a link there that gives you all the information you need, including the documents you need as you go into the application process, which includes a W-9 form, which most businesses, small businesses, seem to be unaware of or have not used before. So the W-9 form, which is the form we use to set someone up in our system as a vendor so we can write them a check, that form requires the legal business name and it requires a taxpayer identification number. That authorizes us to process this grant funding. A lot of businesses miss that in the application
Okay.
process. So that W-9 form is very important. But we also ask for the business tax receipt for both the city and the county. And again, the term business tax receipt seems alien to some people because we get ad valorem tax receipts, which is not what we're asking for. The business tax receipt is basically Volusia County's license to operate in our county as a business. All businesses should have that. And the county offers an online application process through our revenue division. It's very simple. It takes minutes. So we encourage anybody who is planning to apply to go to volusia.org, go to the revenue division, go to the business tax receipt link there, and get that business tax receipt or your license to operate established, because that has been a problem for some businesses.
Okay. Well,
And the cities have the same requirement, so those two documents, along with the W-9, are three of the documents that are required.
and most commonly where you're seeing the glitch in.
That's correct.
Well, and it makes sense. You have to be able to authenticate the business, right? And one of the ways, the best ways, and legal ways of doing that is looking for the tax ID. And so through the process, though, I imagine if a business applies and they don't have it, and as you say, they go through and they apply for it, they're learning this whole process too, of some of the things that they might need to get into compliance as well.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah, we assume that everybody knows that, but some of them are just learning that there are licensing requirements for what they're doing.
Excellent. Well,
And so
it's-
they've been very gracious through this process. People are hurting, and it's really been a privilege, and I think we'd all say the same thing. To be able to
Absolutely.
help them with
Absolutely.
these funds. So thankful that the county council has allowed us to put these programs together and have given us license and direction to do that, because when you're on these phone calls, and we have a group of maybe a dozen that are on phone calls and processing with, it's just been an encouragement. They're suffering, but they're courteous, they're patient, and very encouraged by what we're doing.
That's
So-
wonderful. I imagine
But yeah,
you're,
it's been a process, and there's been some learning that goes with it.
wow, that's wonderful. And Carmen, when we look at the rental and mortgage assistance programs, what does that approval process look like? And what kind of, are there any hiccups that you're experiencing that you can tell people ahead of the game before they go to apply?
Right. So like you stated earlier, the first step is, of course, to go to the website, volusia.org, to complete the application. Once it is submitted, you normally will receive a confirmation email within a few days, just indicating that we have received your application.
Well, that's good, so no one's
Yeah.
left hanging, right?
Right.
They know right away. That's a great way to just say, I got your application, it's being processed.
Exactly. And, with us, every household is different, and that's really important to point out. We're not dealing with, businesses in Brad's case that have similar documentation. Your household is going to be different from my household because of the types of income that is received and to the household members. And so it's hard to say one specific thing that's normally missing.
That makes
because
sense.
Yeah, we have to look at every case on an individual basis. But what I can tell households is to make sure you're checking your email once you apply. That is our main mode of communicating with
Okay.
individuals, is we try to send emails so that way they can look and see the list of anything that they are missing, and hopefully that will assist with submitting those documents. But in addition to that, all of our caseworkers, we're also calling and reaching out to these individuals. A lot of them might need more assistance than others in understanding what's missing or maybe why certain documents are needed in their specific case. And so on top of emailing, we are reaching out and calling those individuals. We won't just email somebody and saying you're missing these documents and not try to reach out to them over the phone
Which
too.
is so important today, right? Because
Yes.
even though we're all, glued to our smartphones these days, sometimes we are going to miss an email, or maybe the email will go to the junk file or spam file or something by accident. But that's great to know that besides the initial response, hey, we got your application. Now there's the email follow-up if there's anything missing.
Right.
And followed by a phone call with a warm human voice that says, got your application, let me help you out, there's a few things missing.
Right, exactly.
That's wonderful. That's great. What a great service.
Kevin, I failed to say that. We also have an email.
Oh, I bet.
notice-
Yeah.
An email notice that went out beginning of last week acknowledging the fact that we received applications, for those that were wondering. We do get a lot of direct calls and inquiries, so we're handling a lot of that, like Carmen said, by
Right.
phone. And we plan to give updates as time progresses. Our goal is to get through this as quickly as possible. Where there are issues, we are in phone communication with the applicants. They know where we stand right now. So we're trying to stay current, we're trying to process these as quickly as we can. As the process goes on, there will be email notices of where we're at, just to make people aware.
Sure.
So they're not
Sure.
wondering what's going
Well, and it makes sense, too, because like Carmen says, with rental and mortgage assistance, not every family is alike, so each case and each application has different components, but same thing with small business. You look at small business, anything less than 50, I mean, it's probably looking from apples to oranges, so to speak. So it's taken a little time on your end, to process them and figure out what they need.
And it's so different, and I may take the time just to talk, there's been several programs to help small business. The Florida Emergency Bridge Loan Program was the first to come out, and the county participated in some of the review process. So we got a glimpse of some of the business needs, which were severe early on. But from then, you had the PPP program, the Paycheck Protection Program. We had the emergency, what is it? I can't think of the EIDL loan. I can't think of what the.
All those acronyms.
But anyhow, we had that program come out, and then we've since had this small business reopening grant. We've actually had people who have called us back and said, we have received our PPP loan or EIDL loan, and said, we really don't need the small business reopening grant money. Give that to someone else.
Wow.
Very gracious about that.
Wow.
And sadly, we've had a few that have actually decided to close their doors, where they've applied, they've just decided they just can't make a go of it. So we see a real broad spectrum, just like in homes. We see a broad spectrum of impact from the COVID-19 event. But people, again, are very gracious, and we're just thrilled to be part of it.
That's great, and we certainly appreciate everyone's patience through it, because you have a whole, you guys have a whole team of people, multiple teams that are working on processing these applications, because I imagine you're getting a pretty significant number apply every day.
Well, there's thousands that have applied so far. And I was just telling Bob, right now, we're at a running rate between 50 and 100 a day still coming in.
Amazing.
So they continue to come in, and some people call and say, is there a deadline, can we still apply? The answer is yes. We've had people from different parts of the county call and say, we've heard about this program, and understanding we're 2.5 weeks into it, were not aware. So we still have some marketing and advertising we can do to reach further into our community with these programs. But,
All the more reason to talk about it today and get the word out
Get the
for
word out.
those, because I think I heard there's up to some 12,000 different small business in Volusia County.
When you look at the under 20, that's the metric that I typically use, 90% of the businesses are under that size. So there are 12,000 or more actually that fit in that category.
And that's our economy.
Yeah.
That's you think about jobs and what makes the county so unique is a lot of those small businesses.
And
That's
then we
excellent.
took that second cut, which was the 26 to 50. There's about 600 businesses in our county that could apply for that loan as well.
Wonderful.
May I make another point about the
Absolutely.
process? Our process is lengthy, okay? There's a bunch of reviews. There's the application, which, by the way, our partner ZGraph has really done a great job of creating this online process, which is pretty streamlined. I'm very impressed with what they did with such short notice. But the online application then goes to a initial review, and we've had partners from all of our municipalities join us in reviewing those applications for constituents within their municipalities. So this is not just a county effort. We've got all the municipalities participating in the review process. And then once that review process is done, those applications go to a county team, which is right here at the Operations Center right now.
I saw the room. There's a lot of people bustling in there, just really very, very busy. On the phone, it's, yes.
So anyway, there's a lot of work being done at a county level audit, and once that audit is done, then it's processed for payment. So it's a long process, but thankfully, there's a lot of people that have stepped up and are contributing from our municipalities as well as from our county staff, so.
That's an
That's kind of the
important point,
process.
very important point, Brad, to show the immense cooperation that we're having with the 16 cities and municipalities in Volusia County, definitely. So, again, a common question a lot of people, I would imagine, have is, how long is this going to take? And so, Bob, when it comes to vets and veterans that maybe it's their first time to go to the Veteran Services Office for the county and to kind of sign up to look to see what they might be eligible for, what's the turnaround time look like for that if you have a new vet come in for services and seek services?
Well, if they're coming in to get into the healthcare system, that's done the same day.
Same-day service is always good, right?
The process that we do is same day. Of course, it may take a week or longer for the VA to send them their letter giving them that authorization. If they're filing a claim with us, a compensation or pension claim, it totally depends on how many disabilities we're talking about, because they have to get proof of these disabilities to file the claim. So I would say that process would normally take somewhere between 3 to 6 months to get it from start to finish. A pension claim, which is for a veteran who served during a wartime period or a surviving spouse of a veteran, that process would normally take somewhere between 90 days and probably 180 days to get it processed. We get a lot of help from the Congressman Waltz's office, for instance. They step in and help us. If we got someone that's elderly or on hospice or, very sick, they can help us expedite those claims. So we got a lot of partners helping us in the community also. And it's more than just the VA benefits. There's a lot of benefits locally for veterans as well as state benefits. So I would encourage any veteran or surviving spouse, if they never sat down with one of our counselors, to call, get an appointment, come in and sit down with someone, and let us determine what potential benefits might be available for them. That's the only way they're going to know for sure.
They're only going to know unless they come and they make
Exactly.
that visit, And you mentioned Congressman Waltz. I heard him this morning too. I mean, just a very pro-veteran
Yes.
congressman, and definitely good to see that we're providing those services as much as possible. And so if they are a new vet, and you said it might take, let's say, 3 to 6 months on the pension program, just like, Carmen and Brad's team, I would imagine you're communicating with those applicants, those vets, to let them know where they're at in the queue with the process.
Yes, absolutely. The VA responds to them rather quickly. They let them know when they receive their claim.
Oh,
They let them know as the claim advances. One thing I would like to point out, it's very important, is that everything is a free service. If someone wants to charge them for doing any of these applications, they need to walk away from them, come see us, because it's intended to be free service.
That's a good point, Bob. If they're asked for money, it's not a bona fide service, right?
Exactly.
Yes. Well, and Gene, the same question for nonprofits. How are they being reviewed and approved, and what's that time frame look like?
It's shorter than the small business one. We had the advantage. CGRAF also did the application for that, so we had the advantage of seeing what went through on that one. And so it's a bit shorter. We're accepting the grants in, they're being reviewed, and then at that point, when all the reviews get through, we should be cutting some checks out soon.
Well, good.
So it's a little bit shorter. They're familiar with W-9s, most nonprofits, so.
Well, and
Kevin, and the timeframe is, and this is a dangerous question because if the application.
But it's a common one, right?
If the application is filled out complete with all the documents uploaded, that is a very quick process. That's days. I think the first checks, we opened the program on the 14th. I think the first checks were going out within 9 or 10 working days. It was fairly quick.
Wow.
wow.
But those that have other issues are iterations of communication and can go on, 1 to 2 weeks longer to get through the review process.
I saw yesterday George Rechtenwald, our county manager. he had a bin of, it was a USPS bin filled with those business checks.
Checks,
Couple hundred of them.
Yep.
And it looked pretty heavy because he was flexing his muscles a little bit, and he was walking down to the mailroom with them. So what a wonderful thing that we're able to offer, and thanks to our county council. Absolutely. So this is all really good, great information and good news amid the pandemic. So as we wrap up, let's go around and if you could just kind of highlight again just some of the resources that are available. Brad, as businesses open up, things have certainly changed. The way we do business is certainly going to change. And what other resources, besides the small business grant, what are the other resources that Volusia County's Division of Economic Development, what can they offer?
Well, like we have always offered, we can be an ombudsman for anyone who's trying to start a business or is in a situation where they need assistance. Ombudsman meaning that we can direct them to other resources like the Small Business Development Center, to link them with resources like CareerSource. So we can be a clearinghouse for directing them to the proper location, but we can also provide direct assistance ourselves through counseling, through meetings, however we can do that. But in terms of formal programs right now, it's really the focus is the grant program. That's really where our energy is going to be spent. But we can be a clearinghouse for any of those kinds of inquiries from them. I know there's other programs on the horizon we're looking at, helping the home-based businesses. We're already dealing with the not-for-profit businesses. So our eye is on the needs of the community. We continue to solicit information from our businesses and from our partners to try to understand how we can help. I know there's discussions also about the PPE, the personal protective equipment, and how we might help there as well. And there's programs being developed. So there's a lot of needs. We understand they're very different depending on the business. Some businesses have found new opportunities through this, like restaurants who are doing takeout service that never did it and plan to continue that once they open their doors. There are others in the manufacturing realm who have taken on PPE as a new product line. And in our Economic Development Quarterly that went out a couple weeks ago, we highlighted 7 of those businesses that have just immediately jumped in and begun helping people with hand sanitizers, masks, shields, some of the things you mentioned, Kevin, that people will now integrate into their businesses as they reopen for safety reasons. So,
You know, they always say that change is hard because we overestimate what we think we might lose and we underestimate what we think we might gain. What a great example of some of the businesses that have now had to reinvent themselves, and we're reinventing ourselves occupationally. And despite the adversity of a pandemic, look at the opportunity that has just presented itself for these new businesses. And it's right here in Volusia County.
Yep.
That's excellent. So, Carmen, Community Assistance also has, I know, many other programs. Your team is always busy, certainly year-round. And with school out, you're participating in a summer food program as well for kids and teens. Tell us about that.
So as of Monday, we expanded the number of sites that we have available for our summer food program. And so currently we have 54 sites countywide.
54 sites.
Yes. And so at these sites, there's 2 different delivery models. One is a grab-and-go model, meaning that the families would stay in their cars and staff would actually bring the meals out to the car. And that could be breakfast and lunch. It depends on the site. And then we also have sites where children would actually go to the site and stay there to eat the meal, also breakfast and lunch. And the reasoning for that is a lot of these sites have other programming going on. It could be one of our summer camp sites, or it could be a private vendor that has a summer food program in conjunction with a summer camp site. But if you're interested in finding a site near you, you can go to summerbreakspot.com and you can find the closest locations to your home that you could go and find breakfast and lunch for your children.
Summerbreakspot.com.
Mm-hmm.
What if somebody, a business, you know, we're talking about reinventing businesses and offering help. What if somebody wants to become a site? A food site, can they do that?
Yes, so traditionally, we identify sites before the summertime actually starts. However, we
Well,
can
sure, there's planning, right?
Yes, but we can add sites if there is a need in that area. So that is something, if somebody is interested, they could actually email us at Community Assistance. So email address, sorry, is communityassistance@volusia.org if they are interested, and we can get that to the proper people and see, because we have to make sure that there aren't other sites within a certain geographical area, and if there aren't, it could be eligible to
Okay.
provide summer food.
Okay, so you try to make sure that they're equally dispersed and you don't have,
Exactly.
duplicity right on the same block. Yeah, that would make
Exactly.
sense. Okay.
Right.
Well, thanks, Carmen. And Jean, the United Way, we know they offer a ton of resources for individuals and nonprofits for the community. What else is out there for people to know about with the United Way?
Well, our community impact partners are still going. Most of them were able to still provide services during the pandemic, and so that's good. One of our hardest hit programs is an internal program, VITA, Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, because most of the volunteers and the places where we had VITA sites were public areas, and in the risk category for the volunteers, we had to shut down all of our sites. But we're hoping that we can get up and running before July 15th, which is the tax deadline. We are working with the Homeless Coalition. We're working with HUM and the Neighborhood Center for food distribution and the county to make sure that food pantries have enough stocked and are able to help the community there. We've got our emergency food and shelter program through the state and the feds, and we just got our first payments there. So those are going to be going out to the community to help with that, and a lot of different
It
things.
sounds like you are super busy.
We're very busy.
But what great synergy. And, again, just to look positively at this world we're living in right now, what great relationships that United Way and nonprofits and all our agencies in Volusia County are strengthening those relationships and being able to get out there and offer those services.
And also understanding that we don't have to be in an office to do that. We all went remote March 16th, and we figured we would have a lot of problems with that. But it's gone very well, and I think a lot of that's going to continue. So
Okay.
we've learned a lot.
I bet, and we continue to. So, yeah, we keep looking positively towards it. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being on the panel this morning to talk about the great assistance that's available here in Volusia County. We hope that once we get through the pandemic and we go through our new normal, that we continue to offer these services, and it's great for the public to know. If I could just go around and ask the website again, just because that's probably the quickest and easiest way, if we could kind of hammer that for our guests, and we'll close the panel. Brad?
So volusiabusinessresources.com. That's the website to go to for applying for the Small Business Reopening Grant. It's also the place to find information about disaster relief, resources in our communities, because it is a common link for all municipalities who you can go there and go to the city links and municipal links to find what resources they have for businesses. So volusiabusinessresources.com, that's the place to go for application. That's the place to go for information about business in Volusia County.
So it's a one-stop shop webpage for businesses.
Correct.
Excellent. Bob?
I'd just like to point out that we have 4 offices spread around the county for people. We have one on Canal Street in New Smyrna. We have one in Daytona on Holzenbach. Of course, in DeLand, we're at the TCK building there on Indiana Avenue, and then on Harley Strickland Boulevard in Orange City. Phone numbers for making appointments, 386-740-5102, or they can call 386-254-4646. Make an appointment, come see us, and let's see what we can do for you.
That's wonderful. Thanks, Bob. And Carmen, for community assistance.
So for community assistance, we always refer everybody to the main county webpage at volusia.org, and your team does a good job with posting links to our programs for COVID-19 rental and mortgage. And then, of course, you can always go to community assistance to find more information on summer food, or we actually have a couple other programs I would like to discuss.
By all means, hey, that's why we're here. Let's get the word out.
So we also are still accepting applications for our summer camp scholarship program. So So that is for various sites. We have summer camp scholarships for county-run camps, but also for privately run camps throughout the county and with some cities that we partner with. So if anybody has children that are between the ages of 5 and 12 and entering 1st through 6th grade, they could be eligible for a scholarship. So you can also go to our website at volusia.org to find more information out about that scholarship program. And then we also have our Volusia.
And there's more.
Yeah, there's more. Our Volusia County Summer Camp Program, we started accepting applications yesterday through our Parks and Recreation Division. However, we still have a few spots available at 2 specific campsites. One is at Taylor Middle High School in Pearson. There are spots available. And then also at Turry T. Small Elementary in Daytona Beach. So if someone is interested in applying for summer camp through the county, it's $65 per week with a $15 registration fee. And if you're eligible, you might be able to receive a scholarship to attend these camps. But you would need to email summercamp@volusia.org for information on that program.
And those are probably going quick, right? Because of the way
Yes.
now we have to consider physical distancing and
Exactly.
other things like that too.
Yes, most of the spots filled up very quickly yesterday, but at these 2 sites, there are still some available spots.
That's wonderful. That's
Okay.
wonderful. Thanks, Carmen.
All right,
Thanks so much. Jean, anything more for United Way? I'm sure there is, right?
If you go to United Way, Volusia Flagler County, VFC.org, again, it's a spot where you can hit 211 Live and find out about all the other programs that we're having. There's just a lot of different information on there to help. You can get different resources. We're tied to your website there with the businesses. That's where you go for the nonprofit grants. We've got a lot of different programs out there, and we've been working with the county and all the different organizations trying to just meet the needs of the community. And everyone's been doing a great job pulling together and getting what is needed out there.
That's great. Thanks, Jean. And I want to thank all of our panelists today for being here and sharing the information that we can provide for our residents and citizens of Volusia County, not just during this pandemic, but year-round. So it's wonderful. Your service and dedication to ensuring Volusia County residents receive the assistance that they need is truly appreciated. With that, we'll close today's panel. As we close, help your neighbor, take care, and stay safe.
Stay connected with the latest Volusia County news, events, and updates on our social media channels. Like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Catch up with previous stories on YouTube, or just head over to our website, volusia.org.